The Artist, Months of Howling, Year 2. Zhao had thought about their little village blooming, but not quite like this. Thankfully, his immediate shock at the arrival of the legions of Enfer, wherever they came from, itself had been immediately relaxed by how awesome these demons were. Well, they ate a lot of food and lazed around most of the day, but he and Zembi had that beat covered. Besides that, they were he didn't know how to put it, cute. He had been frustrated by their desires to repaint caverns and dedicate entire plots of land to strange and infernal crops that had no chance of growing in the strange soils, here. But after firmly but politely turning them down, they had turned submissive and oddly polite. Maybe demons just needed a strong central leader, or were used to being bossed around. Zhao didn't have much truck for it, but after a conversation where he had begged Zembi to help, somehow she had turned her incredible energy to doing just that, and now they had a whole secondary series of crisis tunnels, complete with a storage facility for neat items they had found. And the best part is, some of the demons had needed some encouragement, but had some pretty cool hidden talents. Turned out that art therapy was about as effective on courtiers from... Was it the Underbiss, that one guy had called it? Or was that some other nether realm?
Excuse me, Lord Zhao.
A tall, headless demon that had introduced itself as Gormurg approached. It spoke from the visible wound in its face, which was kind of gross and also kind of cool.
Please, just Zhao. Lord Zhao sounds weird. Just Zhao, we have got. Oof.
With a surprising pop, the demon suddenly had a head once more. It was a very bland and indiscernibly grass-green sort of head, but a head nonetheless, and Gormurg seemed quite pleased to have one, again.
Thank evilness, but we truly appreciate your kindness in sheltering our innumerable legions here. I'll put in a good word to the Denifugue regarding the price of your everlasting soul. Okay, thanks.
Zhao smiled crookedly and secretly hoped his soul was already pretty high value.
But that sounds kind of final. Are you all moving on? We must, I'm afraid. With the months of howling in full swing, I believe our hides will be fully acclimated to this inclement weather. We have evaluated the risk of attrition, and only 10% of us will die to exposure.
His pride was unmistakable. Demons were weird.
But, how shall I put this? Regent Dark Lord Lilium granted us express permission to give you a boon of sorts. Well, her actual words were.
At once, a parchment appeared in the demon's clawed limb, wings swaying irritably as he fetched forth a reading glass.
Tell him he's super nice and understanding, heart symbol. Then give those nice people a blasphemous horn or something so we can keep in minor and distant contact, heart symbol winking face.
The parchment burnt into cinders, and the demonic functionary retrieved a metallic object that was depicted with numerous screaming mouths.
Once, this belonged to the great Ultra Butcher Blood Reaver before he left on a mission of training and self-discovery. It will explode into fragments of blood and bone when played, which is somewhat gross. But we shall hear you.
Zhao took it graciously and surreptitiously slid th horn under a rock. Gormurg either did not notice or quietly approved.
Well then. Thank you for this stimulating rest period. We move out slowly and in single file, preserve rank.
At once the loitering demon mobs become a demon queue and slowly shuffled out, each one pausing by the entrance to announce that they were leaving and sign a personalized thank you notice. Given that some did not have proper hands, this took a great deal of time, but Zhao felt it was very sweet. Bones finally finished collecting them with a long-suffering but slightly pleased smile. Although their first real guests hadn't chosen to become permanent residents, they had left very little mess and been surprisingly decent, so... Success? Zambi yawned and slid back in from the melting, sooty snow outside. Fists extended. Even though she wasn't looking at them, Zhao and Bones simultaneously gave her a tiny knuckle bump, and, satisfied, Zambi fell to the floor, a rather cool hat that she had liberated from one of the demons falling off of her head as she did so.
Wow, that was tiring. Did I do all right? The all rightest, Zams. I think we're getting somewhere.
Ignoring her wiggling gesture of approval, or perhaps exhaustion, Zhao punched the air. They had helped people, and that nice girl from the yards had helped him, so? They had done it, they had survived and not given in, and things were going to be okay. Bones chuckling in that slight, raspy way of his just made him feel better.
MMN. It's not too much, but once Zemby recovers from her work-induced torpor, I thought perhaps we might have a party, of sorts. There isn't a lot that grows outside, but I do believe there are some mushrooms to be found in these months, even with the weather as it is. Yeah.
Somehow, Zemby had already recovered, twirling from her face planted into the fungus-ridden floor to a proper sitting position, hand neatly on her knees.
Chanterelles and stuff, oh, bro, Bones. They remind me of this crazy cool witch I knew. If she were here, we'd be able to grow all sorts of tasty stuff, like puss-rot bow lettuce and bloody knuckle caps.
Blanching, Zhao turned to face her. Zemby studied him with heavy eyes, tapping her face knowingly.
It's the names, isn't it? You're feeling bad. We just have to resort to fruits of our hard work, too. Don't worry, I've got something that'll take your mind right off that.
Almost instantly, Zhao's face had done a 180, and he quickly hid his blush behind the palm of his hand, noticing to some disturbance that not only had the calluses and burns almost completely melted away, but his flesh felt really soft, almost unnaturally so.
Oh, so, hey. That witch seemed nice, didn't she? I thought she was a human at first, but maybe she's from here? I don't think I've ever met a witch before. Are they all nice, like that?
Bones got up from the ground, dusting of his sack with great care.
Most are. I think true magic makes even the crankiest people nice. With enough time, there are still bad seeds, as it were, but that is true of all people. I consider myself an optimist, you know. But I find it easier to be one the older I get. Now. I'll be right back, and then we shall have some fungus cakes.
Realizing how long since he had properly eaten something that wasn't quite as trippy, woe as Zamby's mysterious fungus or nettle tea, Zhao felt his stomach burble in anticipation.
Thank you so much, Bones. As bad as the wind sounds out there, be careful, but soon Zams and I are going to be right out there toilin' with you.
Only Bones' quiet, happy laughter met their ears. Zhao lay back into the cavern dirt, and smiled. Even with his dreams, his smile faded. To his side, Zemby had been watching him intently, trying to stay active by doing some sort of exercise, but failing miserably. She'd push up and then fall back down into the dirt as if trying to pick a fight with it, or stand on her hands only to end up flailing, and yet holding perfect balance, on one finger.
Zhao. What is it, dude? Please tell me. It wasn't something that Lady Bro did, was it? She seemed really nice.
Quickly, Zhao shook his head. Nervous Zemby was weird. She didn't move around as much, for one.
No, it's not that. I feel like, you know how some people say they saw things in dreams? I feel like my dreams were telling me that I had missed something in reality, and that's twice as worrying. Maybe it isn't right to want to just sit here, and be friends with you guys, and be happy.
He ground his teeth against each other, and tried to remember the dream fully. Zemby frowned too, and held her hand under his chin, and Zhao, fully aware for the first time since he had fallen under, realized this had happened not so long before, and recoiled in horror. Zemby looked mortified and embarrassed, staring down into the ground.
Sorry, bro. I didn't mean to bother you or...
But then she saw his face, mouth agape, and realized that it was something else. Trembling, Zhao took a loose twig and held it against the palm of his hand. Closing his eyes, he poked the skin a few times, and then drove it in just enough to draw blood.
Zemby, I don't think I can feel everything.
They were silent until Bones returned, clutches of thin golden mushrooms under his arms. He dropped them almost instantly upon sensing the atmosphere, rushing over to his friends as fast as an old man could.
What is it? Is everything all right?
Zemby shook as she tried best to explain it, nervously teetering from one foot to the other. At first, she might have been just slightly happy about it, but... Bones carefully cleaned the chanterelles as he spoke, tone measured.
So let me understand. You can somewhat feel the presence of a thing, but nothing beyond that. Yeah. I mean, if I shake your hand, I'll feel your hand and the warmth or coolness of it, but not really much of anything else. The vague shape of it, not the weight or your individual fingers or... I mean, that's not terrible, but I'm...
Zhao trembled a little, trying to avoid saying how frightened he was, even if it was visible all over his face.
Don't worry. I once knew a man with such a condition. He might have been that rival, I think it was? Or not. It all blends together.
But the old man's voice was a calming pressure against their nerves, and slowly Zambi stopped fidgeting and Zhao managed to find his breathing and feel it slow, returning to normalcy as the skeletal gardener went about his work, adding what looked to be cinnamon, perhaps even sugar. Had he kept them for this occasion?
I cannot say this man had a good fate. I recall his condition as being much worse than your own, though it also incubated for some time. But I think yours is more mild, and I think we can work with it. I know we can. The first thing to do is to not let fear rule over you, I think. Yeah.
Zambi interjected, getting up to help Bones. Perhaps so that she didn't have to look right at Zhao, for she felt that at the moment her expression might not be so good for him to see.
We'll keep on keeping on, and if you need special care, well, Bones and I are top-notch physicians, right? Hee. I've got a great track record for keeping people mellow and chill.
Zhao laughed, quietly, and rose to his feet. He could feel the ground beneath him, so that was something. He did feel light though, as if he were made from something incredibly less weighty than human flesh. Almost like the air had been pulled out of his lungs and replaced with... He took a few deep breaths. No, he could still breathe. This would be no problem. Smiling, he moved between them.
You guys. I'm sorry. I got worried over nothing. I'll just be careful, avoid picking fights like the rowdy guy you know I am.
And he could see them relax, even if neither of his friends had wanted him to see how worried they had been. It was worse because for a moment, Zhao had believed that Bones genuinely wasn't worried, but better because he had lucked out. I have the best friends anyone could ever hope for. And I'm not going to cling to this, and I'm not going to let go. I can do both. I can. Baked fungus pie was a lot better than nothing pie. Rich and creamy ground crystal chanterelles weren't as appetizing as Zambi assured him that pus-rot bow lettuce totally were, but with just a few of Bones' carefully preserved emergency spices the taste became more decadent than anything he had had in ages. The crust was made of fungus flour, and crumbled far more easily than wheat or extruded protein crust, but tasted slightly sweet itself. Like dry pumpkins, Zhao felt. And he was hungry and that felt normal and good, and reassured him that whatever the witches had done or driven off or fixed in him, he was still human, probably, enough. And that was a pretty great feeling, too.
I've actually got a pretty good plan for the future.
Zhao announced between bites of his third piece of pie, self-consciously wiping bits of stuck fungus from between his teeth.
Maybe some of those demons, or that nice older lady in Boleslava will come back. Maybe not. But when the snow's gone, we're going to think for the future. We're going to help people.
He hadn't realized how goofy he had sounded in between bites of pie until Zambi started laughing uproariously, clawing at the air and the tiny fire they had lit, no longer needing quite as much heat.
Chayao. You had such a serious expression, sorry. I wanna help people too but, dude.
Zambi tried to imitate his face and Zhao laughed as well. There'd no way he had looked so misty-eyed, she was just messing with him. Wait, impartial opinion to the rescue.
Bones, did I look that,
Zhao threw his hands up into the air, toothy grin on his shoulder. Bones mirrored the gesture, enigmatic and skeletal smile upon his face.
Whoever can say. Ho ho. Perhaps you did, Zhao, but a secret I'll tell you. it's admirable, even if it was a little amusing. So this new plan. I sincerely hope it doesn't include feeding our demonic guests all of our little fungus farms. This place wasn't meant for so many mouths to feed, even with the new tunnels.
Shaking his head, Xiao's smile dimmed a little bit, not fading away, but showing a few of the dilemmas he had been wrestling with. Bones noticed, and went quiet, and Zemby noticed, and looked away, and Xiao looked into the fire, and tried to imagine what he had seen for the 100th time.
At some point, I'll have to go home. If we make it that far. No matter what happens, I want, you know, things to be nicer here. For you too, and for the people who live here. For everyone. I was kind of thinking, maybe we could sell some art, or go on tours. I don't know, for some reason I thought of Zams playing the tambourine.
It was Chao's turn to laugh, but Zemby laughed too.
That's the best idea. Look out world, here we come.
Then she paused and added.
What would Bones play, though? We're a band in this scenario, right? An art rock band. Naturally, I'd play the acoustic guitar.
And Bones said it entirely seriously, and Zemby started laughing again. Xiao smiled at the fire, trying to feel a bit more of its warmth. Maybe it was just the cavern holding heat well, or his mind trying to keep him nervous when things weren't as bad as they felt. Looked, he reminded himself. Looked. He refused to worry about it, and fed the fire some more wood, and it gurgled a thankful reply as flames split tinder down the middle and cast sparks and warmth into the air. Outside, the wind continued to howl, and Zhao was glad the season would be over soon. Some were large enough that they could split someone twice his height in two, or carve through a standing tree. And the jagged ice and other materials honed into fine shards by the warming weather. It was just as he imagined the possibility that the figure tumbled in. His sunglasses were broken and bruised from where he had fallen multiple times. One dark lens exposed a tiny and exhausted eye. He was vast, and somehow even running around in the snow had done little to diminish his prodigious size. But he had been sweating and crying and running for some time, and even though they had only met for a brief time, Zhao remembered him instantly. As did Zemby, who had half risen to greet him with a murmured and friendly yo, that died on her face the moment she saw his. Dennis looked miserable, and with a pleading cry, he fell to the floor, tears flowing freely from under his ruined sunglasses.
Please. I need your help. Just this once. Please.
Chapter end.